We believe that the journey towards success starts with a single step. We might all be struggling, but together, we made the biggest first leap in our educational system this school year. The road is still long, and we will be confronted with circumstances along the way. But against all odds, this is the day to celebrate one of the most significant milestones of our students in the realization of their dreams. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Arboleda National High School's virtual graduation and completion ceremony 2021 with the theme Strengthening the Quality of Education Amid the COVID-19 Pandemic.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, telas ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, kuya ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nagatang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagaw, ay hinatang tulad, awit sa pagkayang minamahal, ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nagkikinig, makituwing at araw niya kailan pa may di magtitingin, luha ng araw ng walhaging pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo, ang inigaya ng pagkay mga amin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Ikaw lang ang pag-asa ko, tanging ikaw ang buhay ko, Jesus. Kahit ako'y nangangamba, basta't ikaw ang kasama, panatag na. Ikaw lang ang sasambahin, paligid man ay magdilim, Jesus. Kahit may suliranin man, lagi kang aawitan, ikaw lamang. Kahit kailan, di ka nakulang, biyaya mo sa akin laging laan, ang pag-ibig mo sa akin walang hanggan, inibig mo ako noon pa man. Ikaw lang ang sasambahin, inibig mo ako noon pa man.
Mountains and the rivers, through the lakes and winding trails, the shores where breezes linger, that's the place I love so well. The home of men who love her, men who died to keep us free, men who told you bad the weather, everyone will never be. Region 1, oh Region 1, there's no better place I see. Region 1, oh Region 1, dearest home by far to me. There I learned my lessons, in her veils I work and play. She has kept me safe and happy as I live on day by day. To other lands I wander as I search for wealth and fame. In my heart I will remember Region 1, beloved name. Region 1, oh Region 1, there's no better place I see. Region 1, oh Region 1, dearest home by far to me. To other lands I wander as I search for wealth and fame. In my heart I will remember Region 1, beloved name. Region 1, oh Region 1, there's no better place I see. Region 1, oh Region 1, dearest home by far to me. Region 1, oh Region 1, there's no better place I see. Region 1, oh Region 1, dearest home by far to me. Berkatan dayungi, Pangasinan yang binabli. Dengan motan iariguas, diuragap ko lawas. Dan puso Pangasinan, agkanalingwanan. Luyak ko yan ianagan, bedegdakan yaman. Mantuan nalikwas mula kaya nenggelam, kasih baluri di mapula. Say pangkakas sa tuwina kay nalilik na, labot ka na mabrisika. Say dayak mundak na'y datukkan sa yaman, sedang nakapalan ngayon. Karunan tan samping mo Pangasinan, pagyan talawas Bangayan. Lawas takan ikan duro Pangasinan, arwen kakal bayubuan. Panang ako pumiyawala na bangunan, ikikinon ko syubaman. Pangasinan, luyang minanyaman.
generations old find hope and glory in this fold. This home of great joy and gladness, of fertile lands and green valleys, nature that captures the eye and soul, oh fled the heart of doubt and peace. East to west, from north to south, faithful ones pack and gather at the pilgrim of the North, whispering a common prayer resounding. Mabuhay, mabuhay, Pangasinan too, I sing mabuhay to you. Oh men, women, young and old, find hope and glory in this fold. Oh, I sing mabuhay, Pangasinan too.
Aming bayang puno ng pag-asa, sama-sama tayo sa pag-unlad tungo sa mithiing hangat. Bukod aming alkala, ang iyong lupa sa amin nag-aaruga. Biyaya mo'y kanlungan, di magsasawang ika'y paglingkuran. Nawa'y maging huwaran sa buong bansa, ang bayan nating Alcala ay nagkakaisa. Habang buhay ka naming ipag-arangal, Alcala naming mahal. Nawa'y maging huwaran sa buong bansa, ang bayan nating Alcala ay nagkakaisa. Habang buhay ka naming ipag-arangal, Alcala naming mahal. Habang buhay ka naming ipag-arangal, Alcala, Alcala naming
The rising sun of east, they are one to sing you praise. Are forever your hearts and souls, walk in faith for God is hope. Arboleda is a noble height, sing, and pride, where our children till then strive, reaching dreams and greater heights. Arboleda, in your full light is sweet and kind. Blessed be you, Arboleda, the future's pride. Arboleda, Sing and sing, joy and love. Want the future brave and kind. March on hand in hand, tell the world the spirit high. Arboleda, beautiful like the springtime. Blessed be you, Arboleda, the future's bright. Arboleda, life is sweet and bright. Joy to you, Arboleda, the world is bright. Arboleda, beautiful like the springtime. Blessed be you, Arboleda, the future's bright. Arboleda, life is sweet and bright. Joy to you, Arboleda, the world is bright.
Message from the Department of Education Secretary, Leonor Magtolis Briones.
Good day to each and everyone who is attending virtually present at this time of our graduation ceremonies for our beloved and very precious graduates for the school year which ends at this time. First of all, I'd like to greet the parents and family members without whose sacrifices, whose reminders, and whose participation in the learning process for our graduates have resulted in this culmination program. This year, your role has changed drastically, where we've always thought, we've always believed that the matter of educating our children rests nearly exclusively on our teachers and our staff. This time, you parents, you family members, you who are in the households of our learners have expanded your role and contributed to this wonderful day wherein finally our learners are graduating in this culmination exercise. So congratulations, because this year has not been very easy, has not been a picnic for our teachers, for our family members, as well, especially the parents, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, and all who have contributed to the achievement of our learners at this time. So, maraming salamat at congratulations, parents and family members. Mas malaki ang role ninyo at this time compared to earlier graduation exercises. Secondly, I would also like to greet our teachers, without whose very careful review and careful supervision of the work of our pupils and our learners, this event would not be taking place at all. And so thank you, teachers. Your role has also expanded in addition to seeing to it that the modules are faithfully followed, the assignments are correctly implemented, and the learners are truly learning. And you have had to deal with new ways of assessing the performance also of the learners. So congratulations, teachers, for enduring, for your patience, for your love for our learners, and your willingness to engage in a way and methods of teaching which are different from those which are used to. Assessment must have been especially difficult for you, especially since you were not able to see most of the time our students in face-to-face meetings, and most of the meetings, of course, were virtual. We'd also like to thank the local government units for their interest, for their cooperation, and for their continuing contributions to the needs of education, even as our children do not go to school. Your donations of material as well as financial resources at this time are most welcome, and your advice has been taken seriously not only by our teachers, by our school officials, but also by our officials in the Department of Education. We continually talk with local government units, especially in times of disaster, in times of great need for classrooms, for space, and for responses to unforeseen emergencies. Thank you, local government units. But of course, most of the congratulatory greetings fall on the deserving graduate. Each and every one of you is truly special. You are different from the other graduates who have passed through the portals of your school. You went to school practically without seeing your teachers, if at all. You went to school with your parents, your mothers and your fathers hovering over your shoulders and seeing to it that you are able to complete your assignments. You are completing your studies at a time when examinations and assessments are different. You are culminating these long months of hard work at this time, even as you have to do family chores, even as you are distracted, and even as your world has turned upside down, and it seems and it appears as if we don't know what the future holds and what will happen next. But you have persevered, and now you are ready to graduate, and therefore you deserve each and every bit of congratulations from us in the Department of Education, from your parents and family members, your teachers, from the officials in local government, as well as in the parent teachers associations. You deserve each and every single congratulatory pat on your back, each hug virtually, of course, and each greeting, which I am sure you are also receiving virtually. I don't know if you will remember this event many years from now. I have tried to recall myself who our graduation speaker was when I finished high school and when I finished my college studies. All I remember is that the graduation speaker was someone important, someone who was invited because that someone is supposed to give a message. What was more important to us graduates at that time was the excitement of the celebrations, the happiness and the joy of our parents, the sadness of parting from our classmates and from our teachers, and the enjoyment of all the graduation events that usually take place come commencement day. When I was a college student, we had a series of events which were designed to embed in our minds, which were designed to help us remember and not forget our days in college. We would spend one whole day going around the campus, visiting the classrooms, saying goodbye to our teachers, and sharing memories. We would have bonfires to say goodbye to each other. We had baccalaureate services where we committed ourselves to God and we prayed for guidance when we go out into the world. So many celebrations, and the speaker, of course, is the least important and easily forgotten component of the graduation exercise. Nonetheless, I will exert all efforts to share with you what I see are things or issues which a graduate should remember and recall. I have said that you are very special. You are very different. You are pioneering. There has been no other class like your class. There has been no other graduate like you as a graduating student, because you are the very first graduate of the blended learning response to education in the Philippines. And so you ask yourself, what awaits you in the world outside? You can either work, because the kind of curriculum you survive and underwent as a student will enable you to go to work if you wish to go to work. Some of you will proceed to further studies, and this would be a wonderful thing because there are many opportunities for further expanding your knowledge, for further answering and looking for explanations of issues, events that make you curious, especially in science, in technology, and also in the arts. So you can work, you can go to further studies, and perhaps some of you will settle down, hopefully not too soon, so you can pursue what you really want to do. So today, this is why we call this exercise a commencement exercise. It's not the end of our studies. It's not the end of all our efforts with blended learning, with modules, with floods, with earthquakes, and of course with COVID. It's a commencement of doors opening to you. More doors will be opened because you are a graduate. You can work, you can proceed for further studies, you can help your parents, And you can perhaps look for opportunities to do what you have always wanted to do, whether at work, whether at advanced studies, whether at learning more in science and technology, in mathematics, and in the arts. All of these opportunities are available to you. More doors are being opened. I hope you will select the door which arouses your curiosity, the door which will help you know more about this world, and the door which will allow you to contribute to the development of our country and contribute whatever we can to solve our problems and our challenges. Congratulations once more to each and every one of you. Congratulations to you, parents and family members. Congratulations to you, teachers. When I was chair of the board of Silliman University, each time we had graduation ceremonies, during the baccalaureate and during commencement itself, I would cry. I would cry because you are sending out into the world a new batch of graduates, and we want to be sure that what is awaiting them is appropriate. We want to be sure that they are ready for what awaits them when they select which door to open. And so, we tell you, go out to the world, do whatever you want to do. God be with you, and be assured that all of us love each and every one of you. Congratulations.
Message from the Schools Division Superintendent of Pangasinan 2, Dr. Danilo C. Sison.
The proud parents and guardians, partners, stakeholders, school officials, teachers, friends, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant day to everyone. Situated in this new normal atmosphere, we don't have the usual and traditional way of culminating the school year, recognizing the outstanding graduates, and celebrating the success of our children who are graduating today. Having hurdled the strenuous requirements of graduation. Despite the hardship, sacrifices, and stressful situation that we are in, brought about by this pandemic, our teachers, parents, and stakeholders worked hard collaboratively to ensure the continuity of learning among our school children, using all the available media to facilitate its acquisition. The SDO Pangasinan 2 wish to congratulate our proud graduates batch 2021. Our warmest greetings to our school managers, teachers, staff, parents, and guardians who have helped and guided our graduates attain this momentous event in their lives. Graduation is a testimony to the enduring and resilient spirit of the Filipinos for their ability to stand up, to bounce back, and to conquer the odds, just like the ongoing hardship and challenging brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic, through our innate optimism to see the light and the end of every challenges in life. For so many times, we have proven that we can surmount any adversity by sharing a hand with each other in times of darkness and trials. The many challenging moments we have endured tempted us sometimes to give up, but our hearts refuses to be broken by deep distress. We don't lose our hope because of the strong faith we share with each other, even in the most trying time of circumstances. We may be battered, but definitely never defeated. Having undergone a lot of honing and guidance through the patient, loving and caring tutelage of your teachers, you graduates are now ready to face the new chapter of your educational journey. Life challenges may not be easy, but you have learned at home and in the school that a success never comes easy the way we wish it, but rather through hard work and perseverance, inspired by our Divine Almighty, which serves as our guiding light. To the graduates, again, my congratulations. We wish you all the best in your journey towards reaching your dreams and aspirations. God bless and mabuhay.
Message from Dr. Arlene B. Casipit, Assistant Schools Division Superintendent Officer in Charge.
My warmest greetings to the basic education graduates and completers of SDO2 Pangasinan for the school year 2020-2021. This year's theme delves on strengthening the quality of education amid the COVID-19 pandemic, and the event we are now virtually celebrating is an exemplification of the theme itself. This has become much more significant in light of COVID-19 public health emergency compelling us to do most activities virtually, even the conduct of the K-12 basic education program end of school year rites. Amid this crisis, the Department of Education remains unshaken to equip our learners the needed competencies as they move to higher levels of education. As DepEd pushes for achieving quality education, dubbed as Sulong Edukalidad, it is imperative that the school stakeholders' efforts are intricately woven together to achieve a common goal, and that is to ensure that quality education will continue no matter what, as amplified by our DepEd Secretary, Leonor Magtolis Briones. Undeniably, the role of education leaders, teachers, parents, partners, and stakeholders in today's educational context is doubly indispensable. As I extend my congratulatory greetings to our graduates and completers, teachers and administrators, parents, partners, and other stakeholders, may I likewise express my plea, as this is the battle cry of SDO2 Pangasinan, led by our competent and respected School Division Superintendent, Dr. Danilo C. Sison. More than ever, we as a team should remain steadfast, not complacent in our pursuit of quality despite of the challenges we are facing today. We should always bear in mind that no pandemic can bring our spirits down by remaining to be active in fulfilling our roles, our shared responsibility, without compromising our health, safety, and well-being. To you, our dear graduates and completers, amid the pandemic, have the resilience to trailblaze the VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world by being VUCA, virtuous in ways yet vigilant in actions, unbiased judgment coupled with unwavering faith in God, compassionate when dealing with people yet critically think of ideas and events, adaptable and agile to cope with the constantly changing environment. Strengthening these traits is tantamount to strengthening the quality of education. There is no doubt that with this, you are ready to face life, the very essence of education. Spread your wings and soar higher, class of 2021.
A message coming from the Municipal Mayor, Honorable Jojo B. Callejo.
Mahigit isang taon nang lumipas mula nung tamaan ng pandemya ang buong mundo. Isa sa matinding nadamay ay ang larangan ng pag-aaral. Ang mga mag-aaral ay hindi pinahintulutang pumasok sa mga paaralan kagaya ng ating nakasanayan. Maliban dito, ang mga magulang ay kinakailangang maglaan ng maraming oras upang alalayan sa pag-aaral ang kanilang mga anak, sa halip na unahin ang ibang kapakanang pampamilya. Sa buong kasaysayan ng kasalukuyang henerasyon ng mga mag-aaral, mga guro at mga magulang, kasama na ang mga namamahala sa kagawaran ng edukasyon. Ang lahat ay humarap sa matinding hamon na ngayon lang natin naranasan. Sa kabilang dako, ang ating pamahalaan ay nag-abot ng mga tulong upang matugunan ang ibang pangunahing pangangailangan sa mga paaralan upang mapanatili ang kalidad ng edukasyon sa gitna ng pandemya. Pagkatapos ng isang taong pakikibaka, ating mamamalas ang unang pangkat ng mga magtatapos na napagtagumpayan at nadaig ang mga pahirap na dulot nito. Muli nating napatunayan ang ating mga likas na katangian ng pagiging matiisin, nagkakaisa, mapamaraan at malikhain upang harapin ang matitinding mga pagsubok kung tayong lahat ay magkakaisa. Aking pinaabot ang taus-pusong pagbati sa lahat ng mga magtatapos. Gayon din ang aking pasasalamat sa lahat ng pagsisikap ng mga guro, mga magulang, at lahat ng taong naging bahagi at nakatulong upang maabot ang mga pangarap para sa mga kabataang mag-aaral. Maraming salamat po.
A message from Dr. Arlene A. Abiang, Principal 3 of Arboleda National High School.
My warm felicitations to the junior high school completers and graduates of Arboleda National High School, along with their parents and benefactors in this year's commencement exercises. The school year 2020-2021 had been described as an extraordinarily challenging one. This school year, you studied your lessons at home, either on your own or with the help of your parents or other members of the family, and received minimal guidance from your teachers. Having succeeded in handling the challenges of this school year means that you, members of Batch 2021, had been extraordinary students. And for that, you deserve the warmest congratulations. Looking back, this school year was perfectly imperfect. With this, I mean that its imperfections brought out the best in us. The threat of disease made us more careful and protective of our health. Community quarantines locked us in our homes, but it afforded us precious time with our family. New situations at work and in education generated creative responses. new protocols instilled patience and obedience, and the uncertainty of the time strengthened our faith. Paulo Coelho was wise to say that disappointments, defeat, and despair are the tools God uses to show us the way. Indeed, we saw unprecedented changes in the way we all live, work, and study since the pandemic began in 2020. The implementation of the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan, despite its rough start, criticisms, and continuing struggles, earned its own gains little by little. We now realize the truth that learning may take place even outside the four walls of the classroom. Using distance learning modalities despite doubts on its effectiveness. Viewed from a different angle, we see more opportunities for new insights to flourish, a new path towards fulfilling the vision and mission of the Department of Education. We also came to appreciate more the role of every stakeholder: parents, teachers, community leaders, donors, government officials, and critics in shaping policies and directions from the largest to the smallest units of the educational system, but most particularly in the school. Collaboration, cooperation, and proper communication found their best expression as we struggle to find the best implementation strategy for the new normal in education. Whether we continue with the new normal in education in the next years will depend on so many factors that our leaders must consider. But whether education is still meaningful, relevant, and productive will depend so much on you, the recipients of the goods and services delivered, our students, and your families. To our completers and graduates, you are now a step closer to your dreams. And as you begin another chapter in your own book of life, allow me to give my advice in the parlance of the mobile games that so often attracted and distracted you. I hope that at your age and using your experiences as basis, you now have a growing realization that the world we live in is filled with volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. We call it the VUCA world. Challenges abound. What you receive from us are knowledge, skills, and values that are the raw materials for you to develop your avatar or personality, to build your arsenal or wealth of knowledge and skills, and find your appropriate plan for social groups and productive pursuits. As Ilya Prigogine, recipient of the 1977 Nobel Prize in Chemistry, puts it, the best way to cope with the future is to create. We hope that you will actively participate in creating a better place for humanity by starting with yourself. Choose to maximize the resources and assistance given to you to plan and act on your future so that in the end, you will claim victory in life. That batch 2021 suffered the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic, yet satisfied the requirements of their course to become completers and graduates is one story to tell. But coming back after several years to share your tales of how you reached your dreams, your adventures in your interesting careers, and how life has treated you well is another. And that will be your last performance task from us. You will find us waiting for your return, hoping that on that day, you will affirm without hesitation. Sa Arboleda National High School, abot ko ang pangarap ko. Until then, we remain your teachers, mentors, second parents, and friends who will continue to pray that the Almighty will go on protecting, blessing, and guiding you in the days to come. To the DepEd officials, parents, community leaders, and benefactors, please know that the school administrators and teachers of Arboleda National High School appreciate with heartfelt gratitude all the assistance and cooperation you have extended in the implementation of the BELCD in our school. We hope that you will continually support the programs, projects, and activities of Arboleda National High School, including our development program, the Tugon at Hakbang, Tungo sa Pangarap 2025. To attain the goal of education, as expressed in the theme, Strengthening the Quality of Education Amid the COVID-19 Pandemic, it takes all of us to have the same desire and to put in a bit of self-sacrifice. Let us be guided by the quote from Henry Ford: "If everyone moves forward together, success takes care of itself." Again, congratulations, completers, graduates, parents, teachers, fellow school administrators of Arboleda National High School. Mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Presenting Arboleda National High School's completers for school year 2020 to 2021.
Mark Steven V. Cabiso with high honors, most active. Parents, Mr. Marvin B. Cabiso and Miss Mary Esther F. Versosa.
Rod Clarence T. Mabalo with high honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Roger M. Mabalo.
Eliza Faye R. Antonio with high honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jandrick E. Antonio.
Luis Ricky R. Avalon with high honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Richard N. Avalon.
Rico B. Medrano with high honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Renato A. Medrano.
Abigail Christine B. Asuncion with high honors. Parents, Mrs. Fanny B. Asuncion.
Jacqueline C. Tan with high honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Juanito S. Tan II.
Mark Francis B. Barre with honor. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ferdinand P. Barre.
Jerome James R. Climaco with honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jimmy G. Climaco.
Laika Nadine B. Abreu with honor. Parents, Mrs. Juliet B. Abreu.
Shena May L. Bautista with honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jesus R. Bautista.
Marian Hanasian A. Cabrera, with honor. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Apolinario E. Cabrera.
Joanna Kathleen D. Navarro, with honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jimmy C. Navarro.
Donna Marie D. Kilang, with honors. Parents, Mrs. Myra D. Kilang.
Pauline U. Quiocho, with honors. Parent, Miss Helen U. Quiocho.
Cristel Joy P. Villafranca, with honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ruel B. Villafranca.
Carl Justin D. Bayo, with honors. Parent, Miss Cynthia G. Devero.
John Raymart T. Tabile, with honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Manuel D. Tabile.
Janelle P. Baguio, with honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Wendell A. Baguio.
Joanna Carlalu P. Dafun, with honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jimmy F. Dafun.
Kathleya Francine S. Doria, with honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Randy A. Doria.
Shakira Jiwen T. Kajihara, with honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Neil T. Mayormita.
Antoinette Faith A. Valenzuela, with honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Antonio B. Valenzuela.
Clint Derek L. Ablao, with honors. Parents, Mrs. Juanita L. Ablao.
Vince Errol C. Barawan, with honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Pedro P. Barawan.
Leonil F. Fuentes, with honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Petronilo C. Fuentes.
Janice C. Bauson, with honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Dante D. Bauson.
Therese O. De Leon, with honors. Parents, Mr. Ferdinand D. De Leon.
Nina N. Ferrer, with honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. John B. Ferrer.
Cristel N. Tirol, with honors. Parents, Mrs. Josephine Tirol.
Daira T. Perion, with honors. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Samuel O. Perion.
Hasmin G. Valdez. With honors, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jason M. Valdez.
Mary Ann R. De Los Santos. With honors, guardians, Mr. and Mrs. Rodrigo H. Reyno.
Flourish May C. Domingo. With honors, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jerry D. Domingo.
Mary Chris L. Heterosa. With honors, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Michael M. Heterosa.
Johanna Paula P. Reyno. With honors, parents, Mr. and Mrs. John M. Reyno.
Regulus III B. Reyes. With honors, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Regulus Jr. C. Reyes.
Lord Carr P. Saines. With honors, parents, Miss Carol Jane P. Saines.
Warren James G. Valdez. With honors, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jason M. Valdez.
Sofia Daniela S. Lopez. With honors, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Francisco D. Lopez.
Eliza L. Rapis. With honors, parents, Mr. and Mrs. George L. Rapis.
Angelica May P. Valdez. With honors, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Romeo R. Valdez Jr.
Jillian I. Wee. With honors, parents, Mr. and Mrs. Johnny R. Wee.
Melvin D. Agbuya. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Juarlito A. Agbuya.
Tony V. Agdepa. Parents, Mrs. Judith V. Agdepa.
Rochelle L. Agdepa. Parents, Mr. Roderick S. Agdepa.
Raimundo V. Agustin. Parent, Mr. Remigio L. Gonzalez.
Mark John R. Alberto. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Leo De Vico V. Alberto.
Patricia May F. Alberto. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jeffrey M. Alberto.
Amy Joy M. Alvaro. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. J. Alvaro.
Christine May C. Ancheta. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Robert A. Ancheta.
Alpha Jaira P. Balasaban. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ikil C. Balasaban.
Maribel M. Balbin. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Samuel F. Balbin.
Trisha Joyce B. Barre. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Brian T. Barre.
Elizardo R. Bautista. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Wilson E. Bautista.
Kevin Klein C. Beltran. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Emerald Gray Beltran.
John Oliver S. Briguera. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Romulo B. Briguera.
Jericho M. Bueno. Parents, Miss Marian Cristia M. Bueno.
Roy Jones G. Bustarde. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Rolando F. Bustarde.
Crystal Ann M. Cabinta. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ray F. Cabinta.
Ken Darwin M. Kakayurin. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Edwin M. Kakayurin.
Marjorie T. Calao. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Yomar T. Calao.
Don S. Calyanta. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Renato D. Calyanta.
Dan Vincent M. Karahay. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Danny F. Karahay.
Tristan Kurt C. Karahay. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Rolando E. Karahay.
Novelin A. Castro. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Fidel S. Castro.
Adrian Rhymes D. Combis. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Eduardo Jr. C. Combis.
Cristel C. Cortel. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Crisostomo A. Cortel.
Kenneth F. Custudio. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Sixto F. Custudio.
Racus Andre C. Custudio. Parents, Mrs. Raquel B. Claro.
Augusto E. Dalaywan Jr. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Augusto C. Dalaywan Sr.
Carl Henry A. Di Guzman. Parents, Mr. John R. B. Di Guzman and Miss Donabel C. Alberto.
Elizabeth A. De La Cruz. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Edmond M. De La Cruz.
Rogeline C. De La Cruz. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Roger D. De La Cruz.
Simon S. Domingo. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Edmond G. Domingo.
Micaela Denise M. Dumlao. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Michael L. Dumlao.
Stephen J. B. Dungog. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Eduardo C. Dungog.
Dominic B. Duque. Guardian, Miss Irene P. Duque.
Jasmine Faith L. Edradan. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jesus S. Edradan.
DC D. Incisa. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jordan B. Incisa.
Edison A. Ismabe. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Eddie Y. Ismabe Sr.
Jamaica L. Espiritu. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Alan O. Espiritu.
Tristan Ray L. Eugenio. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Norberto P. Eugenio Jr.
Rowelyn R. Fernandez. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Wilfredo D. Fernandez Jr.
Angel Conrad F. Frando. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Milanio N. Frando.
Christine Joy N. Fusilero. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Edgar E. Fusilero.
MJ M. Fusilero. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Joel E. Fusilero.
Jessa Marie P. Garcia. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ronald S. Garcia.
Kyla S. Garcia. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Wenceslao M. Garcia Jr.
Vince John G. Irangan. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Danny G. Irangan.
Jasha May A. Jaime. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Joselito M. Jaime.
Christian O. Hamid. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Angelito M. Hamid.
Shara Marie T. Labador. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Leonihildo U. Labador.
Daniela Marie U. Laguna. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Danny Laguna.
Jasmine B. Lanuza. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Mario M. Lanuza.
Raymond C. Laurente. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Reynaldo D. Laurente.
James Joed T. Lopez. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Romel C. Lopez.
John Mark C. Lopez. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Randy C. Lopez.
Sarah May I. Lucido. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Saranay C. Lucido.
Carl Justin B. Mabalot. Parents, Mrs. Marites B. Mabalot.
John Michael B. Mabalot. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Peddy E. Mabalot.
Wilson D. Macarael. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Salvador D. Macarael.
Arnold F. Manawes Jr. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Arnold O. Manawes Sr.
John Beans D. Mata. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Francisco M. Mata.
Mayan C. Mayo. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Camilo C. Mayo.
Ana Glycel S. Melegrito. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Anisito P. Melegrito.
Juliana C. Mendillo. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Julieto O. Mendillo.
Yesa S. Miguel. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Benedicto E. Miguel.
Juan Miguel Millado. Guardian, Mr. Romeo A. Bautista.
Roxanne C. Miran. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Rexon C. Miran.
Gianmarco E. Mulano. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. John N. Mulano.
John Nathaniel N. Navarro. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Nestor C. Navarro.
Joseph Andre A. Watt. Guardian, Rosalina Watt.
Mark Hilby Ovidosa. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Angelito L. Ovidosa.
Jomar S. Paragas. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Hinaro O. Paragas.
Christian S. Patricio. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Edgar C. Patricio.
Benjamin Till D. Payumo. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Benji A. Payumo Sr.
Mario Conrado P. Peregrino. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Yunarp Manuel R. Peregrino.
William M. Perez Jr. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. William T. Perez Sr.
Jonalyn D. Picard. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Edgardo O. Picard.
Charlene Angel S. Quijaro. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Carlito Ikiharo.
Chester J.C. Ramirez. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Val C. Ramirez.
Benedict Neo D. Ramos. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Noel P. Ramos.
Jonathan F. Ramos. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Roberto C. Ramos.
John Paul D. Rojero. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jose G. Rojero.
Mary Ann R. Ruiz. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Benigno C. Ruiz.
Rodney Ryan A. Ruiz. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Bernardo Ruiz Jr.
Michael J. I. Sadora. Parents, Mrs. Michelle S. Lakbayan.
Angeline P. Salanga. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Antonio R. Salanga.
Mark Christian P. Salanga. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Antonio R. Salanga.
Michael John T. Samortin. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Joseph D. Samortin.
Julius C. Solis. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Danilo M. Solis.
Kian Patrick Victor L. Tabora. Parents, Miss Lani L. Tabora.
Riza May Cristel T. Tamundong. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Christopher C. Tamundong.
Jerwin Andrew P. Tasani. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Eduardo A. Tasani.
Erlisa S. Tomeldan. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Hermanice L. Tomeldan.
Brian O. Torres. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Florencio R. Torres.
Francel C. Tobera. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Francisco C. Tobera.
Marian O. Ubaldo. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Nestor D. Ubaldo.
J.R. Jr. E. Valdez. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. J.R. Sr. C. Valdez.
Nerissa T. Valdez. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Nelson C. Valdez.
Leonard D. Velasco. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Antonio C. Velasco.
Janeline P. Ventura. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Glenn S. Ventura.
Franklin Franklin John G. Vergara. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Felizardo M. Vergara.
Throughout my journey, this year has made us experience a lot of uncertainties, unexpected and challenging things we thought we would never encounter. But with hard work, sacrifices and persistence, we could summon the will and make our downfall as inspiration to continue our journey in life. To our principal, Dr. Arlene A. Abyang, our senior high school assistant principal, Dr. Perden Silimson, dedicated teachers, supportive parents, fellow students, virtual guests, a great day to each and everyone. Today marks the end of our story as a junior high school student, yet the start of a new chapter of our journey, which is the senior high school. Thank you, Lord, for giving this day that we have waited for so long. Arboleda National High School had witnessed every chapter that we have taken in this trail. To our teachers, you have played a big role in molding us into who we are today. Our heartfelt gratitude for all the wisdom and knowledge you have imparted to us, and for not being tired of giving all your best for us to learn and be better, especially in this time of new normal. You have given your utmost sincerity and patience to lend us the learning we will surely be needing in our future endeavors. We will always remember you with our dear alma mater. To our dear parents, we couldn't be more grateful of having you in our lives. Words wouldn't be enough to express our sincerest gratitude for all the sacrifices you have done in order for us to be in the spotlight and finally offer you something that will make you proud. We won't forget your love, which is beyond compare. To my mommy, you have always been there for me. You are my best friend, mentor, and sometimes my best enemy. You are the first one who supports me and the first one to uplift me in the times when I felt down and tired. Thank you for always pushing me to reach excellence. And all of this achievement is all for you and for our whole family, who were always there at my side through thick and thin, through ups and downs. To my dearest classmates, thank you. Thank you so much for all the memories we shared for the past years. In victory and in pain, I thank all of you for being with me as I try to win this battle against the circumstances this life may bring. God made us one so we can help one another to be the best versions as we can be. Especially to my friends that has always been there to support, love, and uplift me when I am in the downfall moments of my life. Lastly, let me share this quote that drives me into my goals. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So no matter how tough our life may bring, just look at your dreams one step at a time. And one day, you're gonna look up from your feet and you'll be at your destination. Thank you and have a blessed day.
To formally close our program, let's have Dr. Perden Silimson, Senior High School Assistant Principal 2, for his closing remarks.
A fruitful day to each and everyone. Before we end this program, I would like to congratulate our completers and the graduates of Batch 2021. May I also extend my warmest congratulations to their parents, stakeholders, teachers, and school administrators, for they all contributed a significant role in the success of this endeavor. Today is the end of a significant chapter in your life, but it is also the beginning of a new journey. This will give you lots of opportunities, challenges, and pursuits. As you walk through with it, remember all the knowledge, skills, and wisdom you've gained. These things will guide you to attain your dreams and will bring good fortune. My challenge to you is that push boundaries to make this world a better place in your own ways. Always remember where you came from and always remember where you are going. To our guests, to our leaders, and to all the people who in one way or another contributed to the success of our students, a million thanks to each and everyone. Again, congratulations, Batch 2021.